Welcome back everyone, Houston Math Prep here in our example video for separable first-order differential equations. For our intro video, you can go ahead and check that out if you need to before you get to our examples, but here we're going to work these 5 examples in this video. We've got them listed here in case you want to skip to a particular one that you're really interested in more than the others. We're just going to go ahead and work these in the order that you see here. Taking a look at our first one here, we have dy dx equals x times y squared. We already have a product of x and y's all together on one side, so we know this is separable just by looking at this. To separate this, what I'll need to do is move the dx to the other side. So I will have my y's on the left side and I'll have my x's on the right side. So I will multiply my dx to the other side. And then that means the y squared does not belong here, so the y squared will need to divide to the other side. And so when we separate our variables, we should get something that looks like dy over y squared is equal to x dx. Now that our variables are separated, we go ahead and integrate both sides with respect to that variable. So you can think of integral dy over y squared. This is like y to the minus 2, right? So if I integrate, the power goes up by 1, so I get y to the minus 1, and then divide by negative 1, we would get negative 1 y to the minus 1, or also known as over y, equal to, integrating here, this is just a more basic power rule, right? We get 1/2 x squared plus some constant. We'll go ahead and call it c1. You can just call it c if you'd like. And now, is it reasonable to solve for y? I think it is. So the first thing that we'll do maybe is get rid of our negative. So let's go ahead and say 1 over y is equal to negative 1/2 x squared plus my constant. And now I need to sort of flip this thing over here, right? But I have 2 separate things. I can't just flip them over separately. I really need them all in the same fraction to do that. So let's go ahead and get this right side in the same fraction. We'll say 1 over y is equal to, if I get a common denominator here, I would just need this over 2, right? So we'll go ahead and say negative x squared plus, it would technically be 2 times c1, right? If I multiply the top and bottom by 2 here, but 2 times c1 is just going to be some other c, right? So let's just call it c1 still, all over 2. So we have negative x squared plus c1 over 2. So that means y times that numerator, in other words, y times, are you okay if I turn this around here? I'm going to go ahead and say c1 minus x squared. I like my positive term in the front. Equals this diagonal here, 1 times 2, right, which would just be 2. And then easy to solve for y here, right? Let's just divide both sides by what's in parentheses here. So we'd get y is equal to 2 divided by some constant minus x squared. And that is our general solution for dy dx equals xy squared. Let's look at another one, dy dx equals sine of x over y. Now this is really a product of a function of x and y, right? We have sine of x, you can think of this as times 1 over y, so we can see that this is separable right away. If we want to separate these, I'll need the dx on top, so it needs to move to the other side, so multiplying both sides by dx would bring it over here. And then I would need the y to be with the dy, so I would need to multiply that to the other side as well. So I have y on that side to get rid of that over y. So here we'll get y dy is equal to sine x dx. And now we are separated. We have separated variables, so we'll go ahead and take the antiderivative of both sides. The antiderivative of y dy is going to be 1/2 y squared. Equals the antiderivative of sine x is negative cosine x, plus some constant, I'll call it c1. And now it's reasonable to solve this for y, so let's go ahead and do so. Let's get rid of the 1/2. First, let's go ahead and multiply everything by 2, so we would have y squared equals, this would become negative 2 cosine x. And now think about what we should have here. Plus, what's 2 times a constant? Well, it's just some constant, so I'll just keep calling this c1. That's okay. And then the last thing I need to do is get rid of the square, right? So we'll really have y is equal to, remember, plus or minus on the other side, the square root of all this. I'm going to go ahead and write my positive term in the front again, so I'll say c1 minus 2 cosine of x. Okay, and that's our general solution for this equation. Moving on to our third one, dy dx equals e to the x minus y. Now, this is all one function, but it has an x and a y in it, so we need to find a way to break this up. We'll use properties of exponents to do it. So we're going to go ahead and think of this as dy dx equal to, properties of exponents tells us subtract in an exponent means divide with the same exponential base, right? So this is really the same as e to the x over e to the y. And now this is easily separated, right? I can simply move my dx over to the other side, multiply both sides by dx. I can multiply both sides by e to the y. And so then I get the equation that e to the y dy is equal to e to the x dx. We can now take the antiderivative of both sides with respect to their variables. The antiderivatives here are easy. The antiderivative of e to the y is just going to be e to the y. We'll save our constant for the other side. Antiderivative of e to the x is going to be e to the x. I'll go ahead and add my constant over here, so we'll say plus c1 over here. And now how do I solve for y? Well, I need to undo exponential base e, so what I really do is take the natural log of both sides, right? So that will then give us that y is equal to the natural log of e to the x plus my constant. And that is finished. We are solved for y there. Looking at our fourth example, 1 over x cubed y prime equals 1 over 1 minus y squared. Now, first thing we want to do when we are doing separable equations, if we have a y prime, we want to write it in differential notation. So I'm going to go ahead and say 1 over x cubed times dy dx is equal to this 1 over 1 minus y squared. Okay, so you can see I need to get the dx on the other side. I'll also need to get the x cubed on the other side. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply x cubed dx to the other side. So that would give me dy equals, we'll do this in 2 steps so we don't lose anybody, 1 minus y squared, and then I multiplied x cubed and dx to the other side, so there they are now. And now I have divide by 1 minus y squared, so I really need to multiply 1 minus y squared to the other side to get it with dy. So if we do that, we'll end up with 1 minus y squared dy is equal to x cubed dx. And now we are separated, right? So we can go ahead and take our antiderivative for each part here. So the antiderivative of 1 minus y squared, that will give us y minus 1/3 y cubed plus c, but we'll save that for the other side, equal to 1/4 x to the 4 plus some constant, right? We'll say plus c1. Now, what we would normally do is solve for y, but it turns out y minus 1/3 y cubed is really difficult to solve for y. Very, very tedious. So it is not, in this case, reasonable. It's going to take us perhaps a long, long time to figure out how to do this. We can't factor out a y and solve for y directly and have y equals with stuff just involving x on the other side. I mean, I could move this y term, right? But that doesn't really help me solve for y. It just moves a term over. So we'll go ahead and leave this as it is, because it is not especially reasonable in this case to solve directly and get y equals. For our last example here, we have x times dy dx, so we already have the differential notation here, equals xy plus x plus y plus 1. Lots of terms on the right-hand side. Okay, so we have to figure out how we're going to separate the variables for this one. Well, if you look at these over here, you might look at it for a second and then see maybe we could do some factoring of some specific terms and see if we can get some things together. There are a couple of ways you could factor this, I guess. Let me go ahead and just look at these first 2 terms. Maybe that's the easiest way to do it since they're next to each other and they're first. Let's factor out a common factor of x there, right? So we would get x times the quantity y plus 1, right? And then this stuff that I have left over, I'll sort of group it together, right? So we'll say y plus 1 over here. And then the question is still here, how do I get the x's and y's all factored nicely together by themselves? Well, it might help to possibly think of this like 1 times y plus 1. And so if you look at this expression and this expression, they both have a common y plus 1, right, that we could factor out. So let's do that. Let's factor y plus 1 out from the other side. So we will have y plus 1. And what did we have left over in the first one? Well, we had x. And what did we have left over in the second one? Well, we had plus 1, right? So this is actually, and you'll see if you distribute this back out, you'll get xy plus x plus y plus 1. So now everything is factored nicely, and that's what we want, right? We want products, not addition of terms. Now I can separate this. I need to go ahead and multiply both sides by dx to get the dx over where it needs to be. And then it looks like with this x that we don't want to forget about over here, it needs to divide to the other side. So we'll say over x and get rid of that part. And then this y plus 1 does not belong, so it needs to divide to the other side. So we'll have y plus 1 down here and divide that. Let's rewrite all this so it looks a bit better. So we'll have dy over y plus 1 equal to x plus 1 over x dx. And now we have the variables separated. We'll go ahead and take the antiderivative. Now this one here, I think we'll want to adjust this. So let's go ahead and write this up here. We'll say the antiderivative will have the integral dy over y plus 1. I'm going to go ahead and split this into 2 separate pieces. Let's go ahead and think of this as x over x, which would be 1 plus 1 over x. And that's going to be a little nicer, I think, to do the antiderivative there. Okay, the integral of dy over y plus 1, you can do a u substitution for y plus 1 if you want, but this is just going to be a log rule, and it will be y plus 1 inside of your log. This one over here, we've got power, right? So integral of 1 would be x here, plus integral 1 over x would be ln of x. I'll go ahead and write my constant on this side. And now, is it reasonable to solve for y? I think it's reasonable to solve for y. So let's first go ahead and get rid of the ln. So take the exponential base e of both sides. So everything becomes an exponent, right, that we have. Now e to the ln reduces, right? So I get just absolute value of y plus 1 here equal to e to the x plus ln of absolute value of x plus c1, all in the exponent. But that's okay. Let's go ahead and use some properties of exponents to break this up. So we're going to say the absolute value of y plus 1 now. Now remember that add in exponents becomes multiply between exponentials. So this will be e to the x times e to the ln of x here times e to the c1. Now, e to the c1, e to a constant would just be a constant, right? So I'm going to go ahead and just write that as a constant. And I'm going to remove my absolute value brackets, and I'm going to tell you why in just a second. So let's just call this whole thing c. So c, e to the x times e to the ln absolute value x. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and say that I can remove the absolute value brackets here because now that I have e to the c, which is just some constant, I can make this positive or negative and make up for the sign difference over there on the other side. I'm going to go ahead and write that more simply and just think about the absolute value being taken care of by our c here. So we'll say y plus 1 is equal to, so this just becomes x here. We get cx e to the x, and then the last thing we would need to do is subtract 1 from both sides, right? So that's going to give us that y is equal to cx e to the x minus 1 for this example. Okay, hopefully some of our examples have helped you on your separable first-order equations. We have another example that just works with initial value problems, giving you conditions and finding the particular solution. So if you want to practice finding particular solutions with your separable equations, check out the next video. We'll see you then.